So, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, uh, with the name of Allah, who is most merciful. And we are starting our journey with you people, being our new class. And I pray from Allah that your journey with us remains easy and for the betterment of your future. So, I am Professor Saqib Sohail, Chairman Department of Physiology, and I warmly welcome you to the first official lecture of your medical science that you are starting with physiology. And our first lecture is about the introduction to physiology. As we have discussed, the physiology is the study of human life. More precisely, you can say it is the study of science of life. Why? Because it deals with the body processes, how they are carried, how they occur in our body. And in this lecture, we will teach what is the purpose of life. What is the purpose of life means how the process of life it occurs. What can we learn from studying physiology? How will we focus on the subject of physiology? And how anatomy and physiology. Anatomy means the structure of the body. And physiology means function of the body. The physiology is basically the relationship between structure and different parts of the body, how they are related with each other. And we will briefly focus on this thing in this lecture. And the last objective of this lecture is what is brief organization of the body. So, as we discussed, physiology is the science of life that deals with body processes. And the four important body processes are how we feed. So this feeding is important. How we feed means what we feed, what is the quality of our food, how we get that food. How we get that food means this is physiology. And this physiology gives you certain thought that the food you are getting, it comes from a right mean or from a wrong mean. This is the first thinking process that originates in our life when we start some job. Then when we feed, how that food is being utilized and what is the use of that food. Then how we move. Move means we move to carry out the necessities of life. Otherwise, if everything is available at home, like when you were children, your all requirements were met by your parents. Now you are in your professional life. Professional life means now you are starting your first journey to become independent. Independent for earning, for your own growth. And then you will move and you people are moved from different places for this objective. Then next is how we sponsor new generations. How we sponsor new generations, how we train them, and then how we prepare them to become successful individual for the society. Then physiology explains the processes that helps us to adapt to changing circumstances. Changing circumstances means everything. When you get some success, you become happy. When there is something bad, you become sad, you become depressed. So basically the physiology, that's why the physiology means functions. Functions means processes. Processes means ultimately your success story. Your success story. Physiology basically is the behavior of human beings. Physiology is basically the behavior of human beings in the universe, how we interact with each other. For explaining the physiology, we basically put emphasis on the purpose of various body processes, that how these processes occur. Then our second approach is to explain the mechanisms by which these processes occurs. And for that explanation of body processes, we usually need laws of physics and chemistry to explain different body processes. Just like the flow of blood in the blood vessels, the movement of air, it is according to the law of physics. Then our third approach is, when we are well familiar with the body process, how it is occurring, then our next step in explaining the physiology is how that specific process, when it is disturbed, what will happen. This is basically the trigger point in medical science, that when a body process is basically disturbed, what will happen? The only thing that happens is abnormality. Whether it is in our thinking, whether thinking means whether it is in the brain, whether it is in the heart, whether it is in the respiratory system, whether it is in the gastrointestinal system, whether it is in the musculoskeletal system. So whatever is the body process, the result will be according to the purpose of that body process. And by studying these body processes and their mechanisms, we basically will become able to explain different disease processes. We can explain the disease processes. We can understand that if this body process is disturbed, this problem will occur. Now, the relation between physiology and anatomy, it is very important. It is very important. Why? Because the anatomy, it explains the structure. It explains the structure. And the structure of our different body parts is designed such as to perform specific function. Is designed to perform specific function. Like if we take example of the heart is composed of 4 chambers, and these 4 chambers are right atrium, left atrium, left ventricle, and right ventricle. And in these parts of the heart, or in these chambers of the heart, there are openings. There are openings. If these are simply the chambers, they will only receive blood. If their muscle is weak, the heart cannot pump blood. The basic purpose of the heart is to receive and pump blood. Where heart pumps blood? Heart pumps blood to the lungs, so that the deoxygenated blood, it becomes oxygenated. In the same manner, the heart pumps oxygenated blood when it is received in the left atrium, and from the left atrium into the left ventricle. Then left ventricle pumps that blood that flows into a system of blood vessels. That is closed system. It flows in the blood vessels, and from the blood vessels they divide further into the larger arteries. They divide into smaller arteries. Arteries they divide into arterioles. Arterioles they divide into capillaries, and then from the capillaries the oxygen and nutrients, they come out into the space between the capillary and the cell. And then through different transport processes, the oxygen and nutrients, they enter the cell. Then cell uses oxygen and nutrients to produce energy and to make new proteins. And those proteins are utilized for carrying out different metabolic processes that are occurring in the body for the need of the body, and to repair the cellular parts. And those synthesized proteins, they are basically, you can say, the machinery of life. They are basically the helpers of life, helpers of body processes. And from the right ventricle, the blood is pumped through pulmonary artery into the lungs. And from lungs, after oxygenation, the blood enters again into the left ventricle. From where right ventricle it receives blood? It receives blood from the upper body parts through superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. So, if there is any problem in the structural design of the heart, do you think that this functioning of the heart will occur properly? No. In the same manner, as I have told, that there are openings between different chambers. Those openings means there is opening between the left atrium and the left ventricle, and that opening is called bicuspid valve. That is also called mitral valve. Then there is opening between the right atrium and the right ventricle, and that opening is called tricuspid valve. In the same manner, when the left ventricle it contracts, it pumps blood into the aorta, and there is opening between the aorta and the left ventricle, and that opening is aortic opening. In the same manner, when right ventricle contracts, the blood flows into the pulmonary trunk, into the pulmonary arteries, and there is opening between the right ventricle and the pulmonary trunk, and that opening is called pulmonary valve. If any obstruction occurs or the opening is not working proper, or the valve or that opening cannot open and close properly, what will happen? The disturbance in the pumping and receiving of blood in the heart chambers will occur. It will occur, and that definitely leads to a disease. Usually, what is a disease? We should define the disease. That disease is basically a disruption in the body process, a disruption in the anatomical structure of the body or a specific organ. So first example is of heart. And the second example is teeth. The teeth are designed to grind. किसको grind करना है? Food. So teeth are designed for grinding of food. Elbows means the elbow joint. They are meant for bending. The fingers of hand, they are designed for fingers are designed to perform very precise function. Very precise function means the function that needs perfection, like I am writing, like for performance of some task. So in the same manner, like our lower limbs, they are designed such that we can move, we can sit, we can remain in standing position with the help of the trunk muscles. So these two things, the physiology and anatomy, they cannot be separated from each other. They cannot be separated from each other. So, for the performance of different body functions, the body is organized at different levels to make the life possible. And these levels starts from chemical level to organism level. They start from chemical level to organism level, and then the organism of specific species make population of that species, and that population then performs specific function in the universe, and that universe in which different species are functioning is called ecological system. So this is how we being human beings, different animals and different things, they are performing their function. And there is a specific design. There is specific design of everything. There is specific structure of everything to performing these such intricate functions. Intricate means specific and complex functions. And there is basically a purpose of every organism in the universe. Nothing is without use. There is a use of everything. So, the first level is chemical level. In the chemical levels, we basically start from the atoms. And atoms, these are the building blocks. Atoms, these are the building blocks of body. And there are certain specific atoms that make up around about 96% of the body parts. And these important atoms, they include oxygen, carbon dioxide, then hydrogen, and then carbon. And these different atoms, they combine with each other to make molecules of life. To make molecules of, these combine with each other to make molecules of life. And the molecules of life, these include number one, these include carbohydrates, these includes proteins, these includes lipids, and these includes nucleic acid. These includes nucleic acid. So at the chemical level, basically we will discuss the atoms and different molecules. Then is the second level, that is the cell level. That is the cell level. Cell is basically the building block of the body. For explaining structure, for explaining the function. Then is the tissue level. Now this tissue level is important. In the tissue level, two or more cells. Two or more cells of same type combine to form a tissue. And that tissue performs the same function as the cell performs the function. Cell performs function individually. When two or three cells they combine, they perform collective function. Then is the organ level. At the organ level, two are different tissues combine to form organ. At the organ system level, two or more organs. Two or more organs forms organ system. And at the organism level, different at the organism level. Different systems contribute to perform role. So, what is physiologist's approach in understanding the different things? So, this diagram, it shows normal temperature, that is normal in the black line. This is normal range. Then the above panel of this diagram, it shows that when temperature increases, what is produced? There is sweating. In contrast to this, when temperature decreases, there is shivering. So why do we shiver when there is cold? The simplest answer is to produce heat. The simplest answer is to produce heat. That every layman knows that when there is cold, there is shivering, and when there is shivering, there are involuntary contractions of different body parts. There are involuntary contractions of different body parts. So, in physiologist approach, or you can say when a physiologist is explaining this whole process, a physiologist will explain that when temperature decreases, it is sensed by receptors. Receptors are the specialized cells that basically sense change in the temperature. That sense change in the temperature. And temperature from where? From the outside the body. They sense some change in temperature outside the body. And when these temperatures, they sense that the temperature decreases, this message passes through nerve cells, to brain. In the brain, there is specific area that basically senses change in the temperature, and that area is hypothalamus. And from hypothalamus, this message passes to the cerebral cortex. This message passes to the cerebral cortex. Cerebral cortex of brain. And then from cerebral cortex, this message passes through motor tract. Passes through motor tract. Motor tract means that initiate contractions of the muscles. And then there are involuntary muscle contractions. Now, there is one important message for you, or you can say the second approach of physiology, that is how this is occurring. And this is assignment basically for you people to make the same pathway for the increase in temperature. That how sweating occurs. That how sweating occurs. When the temperature increases, now if we want to discuss that how, if the temperature increases beyond the physiological limit, there is certain limit regarding temperature at which our body can perform normal function. And that is true about increase in temperature, and that is true about decrease in temperature. If the temperature rises above a certain limit, now this is the trigger point for you, and the trigger point is the most important thing when you are talking about problem-based physiology. When you are talking about problem-based physiology, whenever a scenario is given to you people, always find what are the trigger points in that scenario. What are the trigger points in that scenario? Like when the temperature increases, the body metabolism increases. Body metabolism increases. To cope that body metabolism, the body needs synthesis of new proteins. For the synthesis of new proteins and different enzymes to cope with the increase in basal metabolic rate, body needs more energy. Body needs more energy. So within physiological limits, the different body systems play their role, different cells they play their role, different tissues they play their role to cope with that change. But when that change is beyond the physiological limit, the body processes fails to perform their normal function. What happens then? We feel some disturbance in performance of normal function, and we always think that we should consult some person who can remove our problem, and that person will be you people, being doctors. So when a person comes to you with some ailment, always try to help him out, and that is your purpose of life now. So with this, I am finishing this lecture, that inshallah, with the help of Allah, you will perform best, being our students, being graduates of King Edward Medical University, to perform your duties in future. Thank you.